You know that feeling, like you've got something incredible to share, but it just feels like shouting into the void sometimes. Imagine having like a blueprint, a key even, to unlock this platform with what, over 1 billion active users now, a place where even smaller businesses, the underdogs, can sometimes see just explosive growth. So today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. How you maybe you're launching something new, maybe you're just really curious about where things are headed, how you can tap into serious business growth on TikTok, specifically looking at 2025. And just quickly, if you are looking for ways to maybe give your social media profiles a bit of an initial lift, it's worth knowing that loads of brands and influencers actually use resources like rapidboost.net, for example, to help boost their presence online.
Yeah, and our mission today is, well, it's pretty straightforward, but definitely crucial. We've really dug into the strategies and, the insights from growing your business with TikTok in 2025.
Hmm.
We wanted to pull out the absolute essential stuff you need to really get your head around this platform and actually use it effectively. Like right now, we're not just, skimming the surface here. We're going to explore why TikTok is set up to be such a major growth engine. And then how do you build a content strategy that actually stops people scrolling, that
Wow.
grabs attention? And crucially, what actually works with that algorithm? Because let's face it, it's always changing.
Okay, yeah, let's get right into it then. So why TikTok? What makes it such a significant engine for growth as we're looking ahead to 2025? It's got to be more than just, viral dances at this point, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the sheer scale alone
Hmm.
is pretty staggering, over 1 billion active users globally, and all the signs point to that continuing to grow. But what's really, really interesting, I think, is the shift in who is actually spending time there. It's just not the Gen Z only playground that maybe some people still picture in their heads.
Right. That report we looked at, it mentioned a really significant jump in millennials, even Gen X users. That definitely caught my eye because, well, those are demographics with real spending power, aren't they?
Exactly. That Hootsuite Digital 2025 report, it highlighted that something like 65%, a huge chunk of TikTok users, are now over 25. That's a massive audience, with diverse interests, and importantly for businesses, the actual financial means to become customers. So the potential for, like, real business impact is enormous now.
That really does reframe it. So it's maybe less about just those fleeting moments of viral fame and more about building something deeper, more sustainable.
Precisely. Yeah. What's still quite compelling about TikTok, especially if you compare it to some of the, let's say, more saturated platforms, is that potential for organic reach. The algorithm, believe it or not, still seems to reward creativity and authenticity, which
Mm.
means businesses of all sizes, even if you don't have a massive ad budget, you still have a genuine shot at getting discovered and building that audience.
Okay, so the real trick then is taking that initial attention, that flash of interest, and turning it into something that actually benefits the business long term.
That's the absolute core idea. For
Okay.
business growth on TikTok in 2025, it's really about moving beyond just chasing virality for its own sake. The source we analyzed actually called it purpose-driven virality. So creating content that builds real connections,
Yeah.
that ultimately turns those viewers into loyal customers.
That Duolingo example really hammered that home for me. They're uh they're funny videos with the owl mascot. They resonated with an older crowd than you might expect. And apparently it led to this huge jump, like over 80% in-app downloads just from people over 30 in like 1 quarter.
Yeah.
That's a pretty direct line from content to results.
It's a perfect example, really. Understanding how the platform's users are changing and then tailoring your content to match. That can drive really significant business outcomes.
Okay, so we get why TikTok's a big deal. But the how do you actually build a content strategy that, cuts through all that noise and grabs people right away? Those first few seconds are just make or break, aren't they?
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
The source really hammers this point. In 2025, you have less than 3 seconds. Maybe even less, honestly.
Mhm.
People scroll so fast, your content just has to be instantly captivating, which is why figuring out your specific brand voice for TikTok is just so fundamental.
And that voice, I'm guessing, is probably quite different from your usual, maybe more corporate communication style?
Oh, definitely. You have to show the human side. That's key. Think beyond this sort of formal marketing speak. It's about incorporating trending sounds, yeah, maybe memes, but always, always with your own unique twist. The report we looked at really stressed using things like humor, maybe showing a bit of vulnerability, even just sparking curiosity to build that genuine, relatable connection.
Is there a brand, maybe a smaller one, that you think is really nailing this kind of approach right now?
Well, think about that vegan bakery example from Austin. They started doing these short, funny video, like personifying their cakes using trending audio. They showed behind-the-scenes stuff, even some, lighthearted kitchen mistakes. And the result, they doubled their followers pretty quickly and saw, get this, a 40% increase in actual foot traffic to their store in just a couple of months. It just shows how being authentic and kind of embracing the platform's culture can deliver really tangible results.
That's a fantastic example, blending who they are with what works on TikTok. Now, the source also talked about developing action-driving content pillars. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, think of content pillars as like the main themes or categories that structure your whole TikTok presence. It stops you just posting random stuff. The source we looked at outlined 4 key pillars that seem really effective for 2025. You've got teach, so tutorials, how-tos, maybe busting industry myths, then entertain challenges, duets, funny skits, that kind of thing. Inspire, which could be success stories, behind-the-scenes looks, day-in-the-life stuff. And finally, engage using polls, asking questions, really getting the audience involved directly.
So it's a mix, really, providing value, keeping things interesting, and also building that two-way street with your audience. And I imagine consistency plays a big part, too. Like, how often should you post?
Oh, absolutely. Consistency is huge. While the exact best times can always shift a bit, the current data seems to suggest, generally speaking, you'll see decent engagement posting either before 10 a.m. or maybe after 7 p.m., specifically in your audience's local time zone. That's key. But yeah, a regular posting schedule keeps your audience coming back, and it also signals to the algorithm that you're like an active, reliable creator.
Right. Speaking of the algorithm,
Yeah.
that sort of mysterious force deciding what blows up on the For You page, what do we really need to understand about working with it, not against it, in 2025?
Yes, the FYP, the magic portal to discovery, right? The latest thinking on the algorithm for 2025, based on the source material, is that it's heavily, heavily prioritizing video completion rate. So how much of your video people actually stick around for. Also, meaningful engagement, so not just likes, but comments, shares, saves, things that show people really connect. And just the overall relevance of your content to the viewer, just stuffing a ton of random hashtags in there. That's not really the strategy anymore.
Okay, so less about gaming it with hashtags and more about genuine engagement. What are some concrete things businesses can do then to give their content the best chance with the algorithm?
Yeah, the report we studied had some solid advice. First, you absolutely must hook viewers in those first, maybe even just 2 seconds. It's critical. Think about using engaging voiceovers right at the start. Quick dynamic cuts, maybe posing a provocative question immediately. You also want to actively encourage people to watch the whole thing. Maybe you tease a result at the end or have a clear call to action that requires watching fully. And with hashtags, yeah, the advice now is focus. Use maybe just 3 to 5, but make them hyper-relevant to your industry, maybe a specific trend you're part of, and your particular niche.
That makes a lot more sense. Quality over quantity with the hashtags.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned niche. This idea of micro niches sounds really powerful. How can businesses use that?
It's super interesting. General content, stuff that tries to appeal to everyone, it often just gets lost in the sheer volume on TikTok. Micro niche content, though, lets you build a really, really strong bond with a very specific group. Like the source illustrated, someone giving financial advice, say, specifically for freelance graphic designers. They're likely going to see much higher engagement, more loyal followers than someone just offering generic financial tips to everybody.
Okay. So it's about narrowing that focus to build a deeper, more targeted connection.
Exactly right. That Finance with Felix example we saw was perfect. But really zeroing in on taxes for creative freelancers, he built a huge following, relatively speaking, very quickly, and saw a massive, 350% increase in people asking for his consultations. That's direct business impact. And the 2025 report really underscores the growing power of real-time engagement, too. Features like live streams, those Q&A stickers, polls, hosting live sessions, apparently, can seriously boost how long people watch your content overall. And that, in turn, boosts your visibility on the FYP. The stat that live Q&A or demos can increase average viewing time by 2.5 times. That's pretty significant.
Oh, yeah. It really drives home that idea that direct interaction, actually building that community, is becoming even more vital. Okay, so what about leveling up? Paid ads, working with influencers. How's that landscape changing on TikTok?
Well, building organically is fantastic, super valuable. But the source we analyzed definitely points out that, strategically using paid ads can really put fuel on the fire, accelerate your growth. And for 2025, TikTok ads are getting, frankly, smarter and more interactive. They're offering things like instant shop links right in the ad, integrated lead forms so people don't have to leave the app, even AI-driven personalization.
So if you do decide to invest in TikTok ads, what are some of the best practices to keep in mind?
The report suggested a few key approaches. Spark ads seem really effective. That's where you basically boost your best performing organic posts, leverage what's already working. If you sell products, shopping ads are designed to make purchasing super easy, like within just a few clicks. Reducing friction is key. And maybe the most important thing, making your ads feel human, not like slick corporate commercials, showing behind the scenes, real testimonials, user-generated content that builds trust and performs better.
And influencers, it feels like there's been a shift there too, away from just the mega celebrities.
You're absolutely right. The rise of the micro-influencer, typically people with maybe 10,000 to 100,000 followers, that's a huge trend. The source cited a 2024 survey showing brands working with micro-influencers on TikTok saw like a 60% higher conversion rate compared to using bigger, more general personalities. The thinking is these micro-influencers often have much more focused, highly engaged audiences within specific niches. That leads to more trust, more genuine influence.
So it's less about the sheer follower count and more about the quality of that connection and how well their audience actually aligns with your brand.
Exactly. When you're picking influencers, the advice is prioritize niche relevance. Look at their actual engagement rates, not just followers, and really see if their audience matches your ideal customer profile. And the source really stressed collaborating properly on the creative concepts. Don't just hand them a script. Make it a real partnership.
This is all super helpful, but then how do you actually know if any of this effort is working? Like translating into real business results. What metrics should we really be focused on?
Yeah, moving beyond those vanity metrics, right? Likes, follower count. They're nice, but they don't pay the bills. No. The report really highlighted the crucial business growth metrics for TikTok in 2025. Things like your video completion rate, are people actually watching your whole message? Super important. Your click-through rate or a CTR, are they going from TikTok to your website or shop? And then obviously the bottom line, actual conversion events. Did they sign up? Did they become a lead? Did they make a purchase?
Right. Focusing hard on the metrics that directly tie back to your actual business goals.
Precisely. And make sure you're using TikTok's own built-in analytics dashboard. It's gotten pretty good. Maybe consider third-party tools, too, for deeper dives. And the source was really big on A/B testing, experimenting with different approaches. Apparently, businesses that actively A/B test their content see significantly higher engagement, like up to 68% higher. So, test different calls to action, different hooks, different video styles. See what actually moves the needle for your audience.
Makes total sense. You got to experiment to figure out what resonates. And lastly, it's not just about broadcasting content out there, is it? That point about closing the loop through community engagement seems important.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Taking the time to actually reply to comments, to DMs, promptly. It matters. Maybe highlighting helpful or interesting user comments by pinning them. Even just asking your followers, hey, what do you want to see next?
Yeah.
That kind of direct engagement, it does two things. It signals to the algorithm you've got an active, healthy community, and it builds much stronger brand loyalty with your audience.
Okay, so we've covered a ton the why, the strategy, the tactics, the measurement. But how do businesses really tap into that, that sometimes elusive viral potential? How do you build a brand that people really recognize on TikTok?
I think it boils down to a mix. It's about authentically jumping on trends, yes, but also embracing content that feels, well, raw and unfiltered. Trends are definitely the fuel for a lot of rapid spread on TikTok. But just hopping on every single bandwagon without tying it back to your brand, that usually falls flat. The brands that are going to win in 2025, they're the ones who can creatively weave their own story, their expertise, into those relevant cultural moments, add their own unique, maybe unexpected angle.
Can you think of another example maybe of a brand doing that really well, integrating their message into a trend?
Yeah, how about that SaaS platform example? They used a trending audio, something about meeting fails, relatable workplace humor. But they cleverly used it to highlight how their product makes meeting management super easy, solves that exact problem. By connecting their core value prop to a funny, relatable trend, they saw a really big jump, like 45% in enterprise signups. That's smart. And the report also really emphasized the power of stuff that feels genuine, maybe even a bit unpolished. Authenticity, user-generated content that builds incredible trust. Don't be afraid to show imperfections, Embrace being real.
So it's about being relatable, maybe not always perfectly slick and produced. Okay, bringing this all together then. For someone listening right now, what are the essential first steps to take this info and actually apply it to their own business on TikTok?
Right, making it actionable. The source we looked at laid out a pretty clear path. First, You need that solid strategic foundation. Define your content pillars, figure out your specific TikTok brand voice, set clear goals, its awareness, sales, community, and research your competitors. See what they're doing, where the gaps are. Second, build a repeatable workflow. Batch, create your content so you're not scrambling every day. Keep an eye on trends weekly, maybe a plan around them. Always optimized for mobile viewing, obviously. Third, and this is ongoing, nurture that community. Engage, respond, listen to feedback. It's vital. And finally, iterate and scale. Constantly review your analytics. What's working? Double down on that. What's not? Adjust. And then as you grow, maybe start considering those paid ads or micro-influencer partnerships strategically.
So it's really an ongoing cycle, isn't it? Plan, create, engage, analyze, refine, repeat.
Yes, exactly. Growing effectively on TikTok in 2025 isn't just one thing. It's this blend of creativity, strategic thinking, and just genuine connection. Focus on really understanding that evolving algorithm, crafting those engaging content pillars that teach and entertain, using trends authentically for your brand, and always analyzing your results to see what truly clicks with your people.
So as you're listening, maybe the takeaway is to really think. What's that unique story your brand can tell in just those first couple of seconds? What's the unexpected angle, the unique value you can bring to a trending sound or a popular challenge? The opportunity to connect with this huge and increasingly diverse audience is definitely there. It really just comes down to finding your authentic voice and consistently putting it out there into the TikTok world.